especially because I'd never seen that photo before. And so I guess it was just made up. Wow, really, really cool. Anyway, trying to get back on track here is Quandong Freaks. On our blue side, we're in our draft here for the first game. T1, correct colors on the red. We'll see whether they can bolster the red side win rate with a victory here as Kindred, the first ban. Kindred Wolf.
Yeah.
That's the first ban.
That's interesting to see. Feels like Quandong Freaks want to trade some of these priority picks with a ban like this coming through. They won't let the Vi through, but you know, we might be looking, they were maybe hoping Nico's going to go through and they could trade that for a LeBlanc. Both Nico and the LeBlanc, however, will be banned here by T1. Yuumi still available, Milio still available here. Quandong Freaks, if they ban you know, one of those, T1 will have to make the decision to either follow or give that other to Quandong Freaks. Those are two very strong picks. The Aphelios also still available. We saw that one completely removed from our last series.
Yeah, and is it just going to be Quandong Freaks banning one of the supports and then seeing whether the handshake's going to come through or something else? And the Annie is going to be the ban here. So we might just have the Milio Yuumi handshake.
Yeah, it looks like that's pretty likely to happen here.
I would suggest a first pick of Aphelios, though, if both of them are left up.
I actually completely agree. I am 100% on the same page as you, and I think they will do that. But let's see, T1 giving a lot of thought to this final ban. They could ban the Aphelios and say, we're going to trade.
Ooh,
we'll be
Dudu's
Cassante. I really like the respect. And we're just moving back to first pick Sejuani here in the LCK, aren't we? We're just going back to this pick is just too safe. It does too much, has too much power in the early game. As this is a Galio hover, I don't think that this will actually be what comes to pass here. No, it will not.
Oh, okay, so Sejuani going to come through here. They're going to lock that one away, and now T1, they can get the Aphelios.
They also could have got
Aphelios Yuumi. Like, what is happening here?
They're going to go for the Milio. I was going to say they could also just get Zeri Yuumi, which is available here. You know, we haven't seen it have the same sort of oppressive success it's had in the past, but it looks like they're just going to say, well, I think we can, with the extra range from the Milio and the lane power this is going to give us, allow Quandong to play it, and they think this is the stronger part of this matchup. And I would tend to agree, and when you consider the nameplates here in the bottom lane as well, giving T1 the ability to outrange and push this lane really hard and get extra prio is very scary, and it will be, with these bans on the Nico and the LeBlanc, Faker is willing to say, yeah, I'll just take an Azir here, and I'm going to have prio against almost every champion that's left in the meta.
And I respect this a lot from both of these teams here. They're like, you guys have had all of your weird electricity shenanigans ever since Sunday. We don't want a part of it. We're not about that life. Of course, Faker not going to be building it on the Azir. You might be memeing. You know, I did when we were in Challenger yesterday. But Azir does not build static Shiv. We are just playing honest-to-goodness League of Legends. Thank you very much. And Talia going to be taken off the board here. Bulldog, of course, very, very good at that champion.
Yeah, we're just really thinning out Bulldog's pool here. As, I mean, I don't think Tristana is going to be viable in this draft at all. Not one that you want to play into the Azir. I'm thinking about other picks he could try to go for here to try to buy time in this draft. Like, could be an Aurelion Soul angle, though a little bit weak on this patch. The Wukong is taken away, which almost feels comical at this stage because I don't think T1 are really looking into it that much, especially when we consider a lot of the champs that are available. Yone, a good shout here as well in terms of 80 picks that work well with Sejuani.
And one final ban to come through now for Quandong Freaks. Will it be Viego? You could just take away yet another jungler, as Youngjae already has his Sejuani picked up.
I think Lee Sin is also pretty good here for T1. I wonder if they'll consider it. As Oner chuckles here, looks like he was happy to lock in the Viego if it was open, and then potentially wait for that counter pick. Poppy also available. Yeah, this is the problem with countering, or rather targeting jungle picks here for T1. It's just, it's Oner, he has a wide champion pool. It's a very wide open jungle meta. So taking away some of, well, one of the strong ones that's in this meta, one of the other popular ones, let's say.
Popular. I get it.
They didn't take
also
that one
a flex
away.
pick as well, which is kind of cool. So now Dudu can't just insta-lock Jax and be happy about it. Jax Sejuani, something that they probably would like.
Okay.
Not going to happen.
We're doing
That's Ezreal. All right, Bulldog. That's what we're talking about.
Now you need something like a Jax, something that can side lane, I think, like, so you could buy time for this comp to come online because it is very fragile in the mid game.
I think it's illegal, though, isn't it? Can't you just not pick Jax into Poppy? Isn't it too hard?
I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, you don't want to play Fiora here. They will pick the Renekton, which has some lockdown onto T1's composition here, but doesn't really otherwise have a ton of synergy with what Kwangdong have put together here, unless T1 opted into some really poor early game fights. The Gragas feels very safe into either option. It will, of course, be the Renekton that he opted into, but Poppy going to be the jungle pick now. You have Azir with some mid-prio, and you also have a ton of power on the bottom side of the map right now as T1 before this Ezreal comes online. The Aphelios, Milio have range advantage, especially with Calibrum in the early levels. Then you have the Azir that's trying to push through onto this Ezreal, which should be able to consistently gain that mid control. So early objective control goes to T1, and they will need it because when we go to the late game, it's going to be Shiv, AP, Ezreal doing a ton of AoE damage into T1's composition.
Yeah, I don't think T1 are going to have as many issues as we saw Bro have as far as like hard engage and things like that are concerned, but it might be that Bulldog is just too frustrating. They don't have a Vi or something like that for that guaranteed lockdown necessarily, but they do have a lot of tools if they can land a few of these good creative engages. So I don't think it's necessarily free for the Ezreal. I think Bulldog's going to have to be absolutely on his game this time around, but he could certainly change the flow of this game pretty effectively. And I'm really excited that at least towards the end of the draft, we managed to get some of the shenanigans put in there, because if T1 can just crush it, then maybe we won't just have to deal with this for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that prospect potentially as well here. And I want to see how Bulldog is going to fare here on Ezreal into Azir, because the Azir has so many tools to space the Ezreal out, make it more difficult for him to actually use Qs to trade in lane. Not very confident about how this early game is going to go on the side of Kwangdong.
Yep, does have Arcane Shift, so the swoop in isn't going to be as dangerous, but see how it goes. We hop onto the Rift. All right, T1 fans extraordinarily loud, but we got a good cheer on the Kwangdong side of Lowell Park, so good to see. Everyone's out in force. As Young Jay just demonstrating the teams that he has played for and things like that. Good times. As, Dudu and Zeus, this is how you're supposed to do it.
Yep.
This is it.
No
Rascal, take notes, all right? Oh, what? Zeus. Did you like how he walked away and then turned back and he's like, sorry?
There was also the Yuumi and then the crab that says it's okay.
All right, so Rascal, stop taking notes. Zeus also is naughty. Wait, did he just let Dudu get an auto attack? I think they actually...
Yeah, I think they
It was like a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, they did.
That is so cute. That is so cute. Love that.
Sure it's fair.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time, and I'm really racking my brain, but I think this is the first time since I've joined the LCK we have seen a pro Ezreal mid.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's happened a lot over the course of history, but see if I end up being wrong. It might be something Showmaker's played, actually.
He played it bottom lane.
Yeah, he did also do that, which I hope that is... there was a while up when those role swaps were happening where it was like listed as mid, even though he was playing AD carry, so hopefully that's not how it shows up when we do have our how many days it's been since it's been mid Ezreal. But and we'll get the stats on that later. Anyway, you can see that the spacing here is about the Sand Soldier. It's actually Faker against Coco from Longzhu.
Wow. So quite
even
a long
longer
time
than
ago.
I thought, yeah.
Yeah, so it was 2016. So actually, I was trying to think, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure the last time I casted mid Ezreal was when Godvi was playing it in 2016 on LGD. And I think that might have just been it. All right, we're ghosting forward, and Exhaust does come through here as they get flash out from Taeyoon. And T1 just going to demand the respect here on this bottom lane.
Yeah. It's been a long time, longer than I thought. There were times in 2019 and 2020 where it was very popular in solo queue.
Yep.
Encountered it a lot, and it has been popular in solo queue obviously recently since patch 13, but hasn't been seen in pro play here in LCK.
You know, Jungle Ezreal, another one of those things is Oner going to get a Q out from Young Jay, who does do a fair bit of work there. Bulldog making his way over, but isn't actually going to be able to help with the fight, I don't think. As Steadfast Presence comes down, they get the flash out from Oner. Nice Mystic shot there to follow him up. And Bulldog getting a bit of value with his control of the wave as he does Arcane Shift forward. Faker in a little bit of trouble in this lane so far. Nicely done here by Bulldog so far.
Yeah. The Sand Soldiers have to be placed in such a way to where it's difficult for the Ezreal to continue to follow up, and Eing forward is too risky, right? If he can avoid your Sand Soldier with his E while also doing damage, then the Azir is going to not be happy with things, obviously, because the Sand Soldier needs to be placed in such a way to make sure that can't happen, or the Azir has to be far enough back. Refillable pot and a cookie in the inventory here of Bulldog. So in a really nice spot here, as long as he can just space out these soldiers and prevent Faker from proccing those Doran Ring mana regens.
Yeah, it's working out pretty well so far. And it should theoretically get worse. As the game goes on, as soon as Static Shiv is done, Bulldog can clear out waves extraordinarily quickly and then affect side lanes and do whatever he would like. So going for a bit of a back timer now. Oner is in the enemy jungle taking the chickens, and Youngjae returning the favor on the other side of the map. Should mean that we're pretty even when it comes to money and things like that, but you can see Gumayusi is kind of warping it because this Milio Aphelios is really doing some work towards the Cat and Azeri, which I know, it's catharsis, isn't it, guys? Just feels good.
Yeah.
Watching the Zeri Yuumi lose.
It's what happens, though, which is why T1, I think, felt very comfortable to give this over as long as they had the Milio Aphelios, because the Yuumi can be kind of helpful, too, in the mid-game and the early parts of the late game where Guma's going to look to Gale Force forward and look for ults and stuff like that to actually just execute the enemy AD carry in mid. We see this all the time. But also in the early parts of the laning phase, you're very happy with your range advantage here, and there's just not much that Yuumi can put back with this iteration of Yuumi. Her sustain is significantly nerfed. In the early levels, you're doing very little.
No, it's not really a thing, as you do have some shields if you do go for all-ins and things like that, but outside of it, it is a little bit more difficult, as you say. I mean, first Drake going to be an Infernal as well, Wolf, so
yeah,
we've got some interesting ones.
Good Infernum poke here, as we talk about the Infernal.
Ooh, wow.
From Guma, and he's already got a plate split here, and he's looking for another one. And would they have this much early prio? I mean, looking for a Drake here by the time that Bulldog could come over here and do anything. He's already teleported, by the way, earlier on. I mean, there's not much he can do right now to offer any reprieve. I mean, this is just T1 being like, we know we have early prio with this composition. The Ezreal, a little bit of a shakeup on that, but so far in practice, still working out. And we're just going to take early objectives. So what I was talking about, you handle the Renekton early here on the top side as well, and then you could look for Rift Herald. So you go double early objective, and T1 start to stack up those leads early before the Shiv becomes a threat, before the side laning can be an issue here with the Ezreal as well.
Yeah, we'll see whether T1 can continue to hold on to that level of control, though. Of course, Quandong Freaks will be pretty happy to reach a mid-game where, you know, there's some parity involved, and Gragas should be fine in the matchup against the Renekton, but Renekton will still be very strong in the mid portions of the game. As Faker taking a fair bit of damage, Youngjade's wandering over, level 5 for the Sejuani, so no Glacial Prisons for Faker to worry about. Will be absolutely fine. But still, taking a fair bit of damage in the mid lane isn't exactly the greatest of news, and despite being ahead in farm, Bulldog should be able to even that out once that Static Shiv comes online.
Zeus has got this lane right where he wants it. Just going to be able to farm pretty comfortably here. You know, like you said, the Renekton in the early parts can be very annoying to deal with. Just trying to keep this right out of the range of the turret so we can farm this. And over here in the lane, this is continuing to be an annoyance for Taeyun and June. But otherwise, we are not really seeing heavy action just yet. Just playing around lane prio. That Herald is spawning in a minute's time, and that's where we'll see whether these teams opt in to fight or not, because the Renekton is very strong in the early game, obviously, and so is the Azir, especially with the Emperor's Divide. But if that could be avoided by Ezreal, you know, maybe this is a fight that you take where the Ezreal gets early value even without Shiv. Taeyun actually doing a lot of damage to Keria here. Doesn't have 6 yet.
Ultra Mega Fire Kick is going to go wide there from Keria. You saw Taeyun able to move up in this lane and do a little bit more work. And yeah, they're down by about 11 CS, but when have Zeris really been too worried about the early laning phase? Oftentimes, it's about getting those couple of kills in the mid-game and then just taking over, as somehow Bulldog manages to weave that Q. All the best Ezreal players do. Just figure it out. They
curve
find the angles.
It doesn't curve, but it feels like it is.
Yeah.
That was a great dash from Dudu.
Yeah, really nicely sliced. And he's able to get out of there without having to use his flash or anything like that. Couple of waves in advantage here for the Renekton as well.
Taeyun is looking for an angle here where if you continue to put enough damage onto Keria here and he hits level 6, there is an all-in timing with him and June. And he is very carefully trying to make that damage happen, June, that is, with those shots coming to those Qs, prowling projectiles, harassing Keria. But with Oner in the area, they probably want to think better of it. Even with level 6 being hit just now, it's red-white for Guma, and you just need to respect this. Just don't have any vision of the Poppy right now.
Yeah, I think Oner did clear out a ward, so they did know that Poppy was towards that bottom side. But now Bulldog's the one to deal with there. As now Taeyeon's just going to dive forward. They're looking for the all-in. As Gumayusi's exhausted, great Ultra Mega Fire Kick there from Keria to get rid of the Zeri. Still, they do manage to get a couple of Summoner spells as Oner does get the flash out from Youngjae, who will claim the Rift Herald. And he's going to have to flash as well. So flash for flash, and Rift Herald goes over to Kwangdong Freaks.
Pretty massive win here for Kwangdong, picking up that Herald. And, you know, the flash exchange here feels pretty nice if you're avoiding disaster here, catastrophe. If Oner hits that, they just say thank you for the leash. And then Faker goes over there as Azir. But fortunately, it's a good flash from Youngjae, and the smite misses, a little bit mistimed from Oner. And Taeyeon, man, he is just putting off a ton of damage. Great detach here as well for some additional trading. And this lane, obviously in the early levels, can struggle.
I was a little bit frightened about that one. As okay, he's just going to go for it. Pressing the dominance buttons, just continuing to assert his ultimate onto... Well, that's dominance, isn't it? So that's not the same word.
Close.
As that's going to be a Hex Flash from Oner. Gets over that wall. Bulldog, I'm not sure what happened there, but not great things. As he's communicating to the rest of his team that things got a little bit difficult. Faker didn't have to use the ultimate in that moment either. So just putting on a whole bunch of pressure. Static Shift now done.
And he's got Unleashed Teleport here. We'll be sending it straight into the mid lane. And, you know, that second Drake spawning here in a minute's time. And this is a timing window where with this Herald taken early for Kwangdong, you could try to use it for some additional prio to try to even up these Drakes. It is, of course, fire here into Mountain. Infernal and Mountain. Could be Earth, Wind, and Fire here, potentially. Yeah. I know how much you love that, especially when it's Cloud at the end.
Yep, that means more Clouds, absolutely.
Yeah, but, I mean, the setup here is quite nice for Kwangdong Freaks around the map. The gold is even, but this Renekton is getting the power that they wanted to have for this early. The Ezreal got a Shiv without any problems, you know, almost... You know, took a bad trade right and had to back, but had teleport, so it doesn't really matter. And now he's got Shiv, so Faker isn't going to have as much agency here anymore. And the Zeri is starting to come online. The Cull is going to finish here in just a second. So this is when Kwangdong are really ready to now say, okay, early game's over. We're alive now. We're looking for that strong mid-game power.
And Oner down here towards the bottom side once again. You can see Youngjae somewhat in the area, was spotted on a ward. And so Faker knows that he can just back away. He does so very comfortably. Oner moving up. As Keria following him there as well as the buckler just flies forward. Otherwise, not too much to worry about there as Bulldog, once again, just has to be a bit careful, taking a fair bit of damage as Dudu just takes a turret shot, mainly because he feels like it. There's not a lot of mana on the Gragas, who is just looking for a back timing by the looks of things. And T1 looking like they do have a large amount of control as here we are towards the bottom side. Keria in a bit of trouble, had to ult himself once again as Oner comes through, gets that ult off and gets the heroic charge into the wall, and now Faker, he'll turn up and look for that first blood. There is 4,500 assists for Faker and a double kill for Gumayusi.
Gumi going to pick up the double, and that's the problem. Well, one of many problems with Yumi is if you end up committing heavily to an all-in like this, you are plus 300 to the enemy 80 carry if you lose the fight. There is no walking away. It's no, okay, I'm a tanky sport, I've got an escape, I'm getting out like you can with some other all-ins. You just die, guaranteed. And now Guma with White Gun here, going to do a ton of damage to this turret and pick up a lot of plate gold. 4,500 assists, as you mentioned.
There it is.
First player to ever do so, but the Drake goes over as well. Insult to injury here to Kwangdong, who had the most marginal of leads.
Well, now Youngjae is going to send Zeus towards that top side. I think that's exactly where he wanted to go. So that was just both teams using the Blast Cone exactly the way they wanted to. So that's pretty cute.
The plate is defended bottom side, so that's good news here for Kwangdong as well. Almost losing the entirety of that turret and first brick.
Yeah, actually, first turret blood, kind of a huge thing, given the fact that this outer in mid lane is so extraordinarily low. I was a little bit worried about that, because I thought that Youngjae and Bulldog would have been able to push that one down. But it doesn't work out, as we're going to see this again.
Good flash.
The aggressive flash from Taeyeon.
Yeah, and Keria is very low, but ultimately you're now on the wrong side of the map, because it's easy for Oner to just eliminate one of these members, right? And obviously with the Sejuani being more vulnerable, it's easy for him to make that choice. And then Faker commits the teleport because he has teleport advantage, and it's unleashed. He gets down there. This is just how this meta works since the teleport's been moved up to 10. Can make more impactful plays bottom side like the old days, and Faker will pick up 2 assists. But the real story here is it's a fed Aphelios here for Guma.
Yeah, it will be very, very scary. We do have our Night Harvester on the way here for Bulldog as well, so confirmation that it is going to be the AP variant, as Oner once again going to go a little bit aggressive onto Taeyun, as Faker will head down as well. And this is T1 just trying to guarantee this first turret blood going over to Gumayusi.
It's going to be close here because Taeyun has empowered W here for this this one. And I think he should be able to secure it, actually. Faker not there, and that is first break to Kwangdong Freaks.
Pretty comfy. And now Youngjae, he's down here as well to try and defend. I don't know whether he can, as... Oh my goodness, True Shot Barrage is massive, but still Gumayusi is more massive. A cat is going to be taken out as well.
Can they get out of here, though?
And yeah, Dudu coming on in. That is a pick the gap on the Glacial Prison. And Ultra Mega Fire Kick is going to buy some space here as well, as Bulldog will move down. They get some flashes out, as Oner looking to try and escape this one, as Faker has been put into position. And T1, they will get out. They do lose Gumayusi, but I think they'll be okay with it, because 4-1 is the kill score right now.
It's also a kill going over the Sejuani, so not going to feel too great about that one. Unfortunately, if it had gone to Ezreal or Zeri, you feel much better, but that was pretty clean from T1 to push down there. And there's very little lost here on the side of T1 outside of course, losing that first brick. They still end up getting way more gold on the exchange. They still get a turret back on the bottom side of the map, and will push them back into a gold lead here. Yeah, very close game, but I mean, this is a story of this Aphelios getting more and more fed. Picked up 2 kills, now he's picked up 2 assists and all that extra gold.
And I think they'll have more utility, right? Like, you look at the T1 composition, you've got Poppy, Gragas, Azir. You're pretty happy to go towards these team fights, especially if Oner can land a couple of ultimates. So, Kwangdong Freaks, they're looking for the second Rift Herald, as Zeus looking to come round as well. There's a teleport in, as Oner finds a heroic charge. Don't know about that one, as Dudu is just going to get thrown around like a rag croc. And T1, they will be able to defend. They don't get the Rift Herald, and so therefore the Eye is just looking around a bit confused as to what to do. We'll probably shrink back to the Void relatively soon.
I'm glad we have rag croc physics in the LCK.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Well, the Eye, as you mentioned, cannot be picked up. That's well defended here by the side of T1, but they win the fight, and now we're trying to push mid.
All right, Ultra Mega Fire Kick, as in goes Zeus. He does manage to get the Body Slam Flash. Taeyan's gonna ult just to try and offer something back. True Shot Barrage is decent, but it's not going to be enough. The cat this time will be spared.
Yeah.
So there is that.
For the first time, she actually will float away with her life, but still 3 deaths on this Zeri, and they are just very much so playing to leaving the Zeri open as they did in draft, constantly shutting Taeyun and June down and looking for these aggressive picks. No vision there to the left side of the turret means Zeus has a huge opportunity. Let's rewind to what happens post Bulldog's mid-turret here. They can crush this turret, right? Even with the ultimate coming out here from June, there's just no sustainability here. Turret's down, and yes, you've got a rotating Dudu, you've got a rotating Ezreal here, but they can buy enough time here, and Guma, there's just no way for him to space this out better. He tries his best, he will die, but the kill going over to Sejuani means you're not too offended about it, and then it's the kick coming through from Keria. Flash, body slam, pass right into the waiting arms of Guma, and this is just too much. Even with the True Shot Barrage once again connecting, there's no follow-up damage. In this early game, the Ezreal needs to be able to do more if you're going to get those kills. But True Shot alone isn't enough, sadly, here for Kwangdong.
Not quite. And the thing that I'm really enjoying about this game is that I'm seeing that Milio actually is super duper good. And thank you, Keria, for demonstrating that, because we've seen it lose in this matchup a couple of times, and it's just, it's weird, because it shouldn't happen. And of course, you know, like this particular matchup exactly has been very favored towards Emilio, as I'm going to have to hold that thought, as there's a potential team fight, as this first Hex Tech Drake is going down low. It is going to be claimed there, as Faker has to go golden. They get the Drake, but can they save the Pigeon? He is going to be able to make it out, as Dudu pressed his R button, but isn't able to do too much more than that. So Soul Point goes over to T1 basically for free here. Just had to expend some health bar from Faker.
Faker also going to push this turret down. They can turn this into a Sun Disc, and they will. And this is just really difficult to chase down now as Kwangdong Freaks has become like a new fortress here in the middle of the map that's going to allow T1 to disengage and get out of here. So Faker gets the turret. They get Soul Point. Hextech Soul Point, mind you, so massive value here on top of winning the team fight. And then Weather the Storm. And Oner, by the way, unable to actually make this ultimate high value. He's not able to actually hit anybody with it. It's just going to be canceled. And it doesn't matter here. Dudu's too low, and this composition just doesn't really have a front line outside of this Sejuani. The Renekton too low here, not able to get in and start healing up. But if you get chipped down before the fight starts, there's just no real way to continue. And T1 get that dragon, grab mid turret, and the gold lead is starting to show up here. 1,000 now advantage of T1.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastically done. Watching Zeus in that fight manages to get the fantastic cask onto Dudu. And so, yeah, he just had no access. He was thinking about using the blast cone, but wasn't actually ready to pull the trigger. And I don't know whether it would have actually changed how that fight was going to go, but you could see the indecisiveness. Kwangdong Freaks are quite able to figure out how to get this one working in their favor, and that was part of what the problem was last week, right? In their 2 losses. Yes, difficult opposition for the team, but I swear, like, the series against Harmalife Esports, that was a 2-0 for Kwangdong Freaks that they lost.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, that series is worse than the Gen G one for how that one turned out and changed.
Okay, there it is. They managed to find Gumayusi immediately. He's out of there, though, because Keria has access to an R button. And that's a celebratory spin around for Oner.
Yeah, and a teleport from Bulldog as well committed to here, but he's only a level up on the Aphelios here. Okay, I say that. He does hit 13. But still, Guma just completely unfazed by this. He's got a Gale Force. He does not have to flash, does not even need to Ghost. And while it was a really nice weave of the ultimate there from Youngjae, if there's no follow-up damage, it doesn't matter. Faker says thank you for teleport advantage.
Yeah, and he'll take it. As Taeyun just hanging out here in this mid lane, you saw Keria was in a precarious position, but Oner was there to back him up, so that's going to be absolutely fine. As Dudu and Zeus ships in the night here towards the bottom lane.
Looks like Faker may use said teleport to come back to the top side of the map. Is waiting here. Does buy that zone. He just needed a little bit more gold, and is actually not even going to need it because he's got hex gates to actually get to the top side of the map faster. Will sacrifice a little bit of CS here to keep his teleport, which I think is a great call, especially considering Drake is up here in 2 minutes, and Ezreal without a teleport here means that it's much tougher for the Shiv to get value on the opposite side of the map.
Yeah, he'll take the blue buff as well, will Bulldog, and head towards this top side as Dudu is still having a good time, as we can see, ahead by a whole bunch of farm. But I'm not seeing where he's going to be able to use it, right? This is the thing that's really hard. Renekton just doesn't have the same amount of staying power as the game goes on. Gragas will always be Gragas.
And also, I mean, yeah, that's the other thing is that Gragas will be Gragas even down on CS, and he could push the Renekton away, as he did on that last Dragon fight. Azir can push him away. Poppy can push him away. So in order for him to get value, he needs to be threatening Guma and then getting Gale. Oh, okay, Oner.
That is you and me interrupted, as Jun looking a little bit silly for now, as Youngjae taking the Rift Scuttler though. So Baron Vision secured for Kwangdong Freaks. Definitely good news, and man, Jun was kind of spared there momentarily.
But how does the Crocodile really even proc Gore Drinker high value in these team fights is the question that we have to ask, and we have still been kind of waiting for that big moment, right, in this game where he actually can then threaten and be a tank. That's what Renekton is good at in this meta, where he was slightly buffed, is he can try to get on top of Faker, get on top of Guma, but then heal so that his backline could then follow up. But if he's just constantly pushed away by all of these great tools and these peeling options here for T1, the Croc feels toothless.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. As True Shot Barrage, fair bit of value there as Keria takes a large portion of his health bar. Least does have that cozy campfire down as Youngjae prowling, looking for Oner, looking for an opportunity. Doesn't throw the Glacial Prison out though, as Bulldog throws out a few skill shots, but isn't able to find too much as in goes Faker immediately. Taeyun and Bulldog are out of there. Faker taking a fair bit of damage as Gumayusi is terrifying. He's got that cozy campfire, and it should have a more aggressive name than that, I think. Especially with how he's using it.
I mean, with 2 flashes gone here, T1 with Prio, teleport coming through from Zeus as he picks up Jack Shows. This is Hextech Soul, and your carries are flashless now. You still got Cask available, you still got Poppy Ultimate. This is not going to be a fight you want to take as Kwangdong, but you have to try because you can't give over Hextech Soul. Faker.
Oh, Faker taking so much damage here, but not going to die just yet. Does have teleport, so we can get back into the fight if he would like to. And T1 gonna have to relinquish some ground at least for now. Dudu on vision. Gonna be able to take that one away.
Faker will be able to teleport back in, as you mentioned. This is an opportunity, a razor-thin timing window here for Kwangdong. Faker doesn't have vision.
They're trying to get set up to try and lock him down, and they do manage to interrupt there as does get imprisoned, and Faker will be taken out. He does use the Zhonya's to buy a whole lot of time. True Shot Barrage flies in as, oh, the fantastic ult comes out from Oner, and that will guarantee Hextech Soul in trade for Faker. And I think if I was Faker, I'd be typing a little bit of worth in all chat.
Yeah, so he gets 2 flashes before the fight, takes a bunch of damage from Bulldog, and then teleports in to die. But the rest of his team is holding Drake, and Kwangdong Freaks spent so much time watching Faker's stasis. T1 have the amount of damage they need to rush that Drake down at this stage of the game. The 2-item Aphelios is nothing to shake a stick at here, and once again you see that look at where Taeyun and Youngjae are, and the Renekton on the other side of the fight can't come in here to assist, is completely zoned out and then blast coned away. And by the time that Faker is dead, Dudu is just a crocodile trying to walk in, and this is a risky call.
Okay, it's Kwangdong Freaks that are doing the Baron. I wasn't quite expecting that. However, and now they're going to look to move their way over. Dudu taking so much damage here. The Dominus does come up, and Oner, he's kept alive by Keria. Dudu now trying to make his way out. The Crocodile is going to die, though, as Youngjae gets back over the wall. He secures the Baron, but can they stay alive is the question. I think the answer might be yes for maybe Bulldog.
Maybe Bulldog.
But Zeus is going to try and say no here as he's inside.
He still has
the
cast
camp.
and flash.
Yeah, does have the cast. Didn't find the barrel, but there is going to be the body slam flash, and Bulldog just going to be thrown around. That is the belly bop. And that's going to be the ace. So, cool Baron, but it's not really going to be winning you any games.
Yeah. Everybody got the Baron gold on the side of Kwangdong, but T1 got all the gold from all the champions who were holding Baron. They got him on where they wanted him to be as well. Yeah, this fight here is pretty disastrous for Kwangdong Freaks, but it was a desperate attempt, right? And Dudu absorbs a lot of this. But at this moment in time, you know the fight is over. Youngjae's pushed out by Faker, and he still is able to steal this in the chaos. And also, you do see Guma is killed. The health bar so low across Kwangdong Freaks to secure this, and Bulldog, he needs to be the one who cleans up the fight, not the last one to die if the Ezreal is going to get value. Even with the true shot coming through, it doesn't matter. This was a Hail Mary play, and while technically the objective was taken, it's a win for T1.
Oh, 100%. And especially with the fact that there is no Barons now on Kwangdong Freaks. Even after the dust is settled, there is going to be 0 advantage. One good thing for Kwangdong Freaks is the fact that now they don't need to defend Baron for another 4.5 minutes. That's pretty cool, I guess, as now we're going to look for Gumayusi once again with an ultimate. Youngjae not going to find it. True Shot Barrage also finds nothing, and Youngjae is going to die. Does get healed up quite a lot, but it's not going to work out as the bomber goes slightly wide. Party cast, though, you deserve it, Zeus, because so far it has been a fantastic game. Dudu on a ward, presses the R button, and then vacates the area.
Faker here just going to work on this turret, too. Completely uncontested. Dudu finally coming over with his ultimate. Well, that's an ult down. Faker sitting here at level 16, like, all right, cool. Yeah. How long can you stay here? You have no support. Ezreal showing bottom side. Taeyun here sitting on 2 items to the 3 of Guma, a whole item behind, 2 levels behind as shown here. Look at his gold, 13,000. And Faker is next in line, 2,000 gold behind him. It's a pretty disastrous situation.
Whoa.
June?
He's almost just dead. That was a lot of damage there from Faker. And Dudu now just going to be, the next target on the chopping block. Looking like a little bit of a handbag here coming out of the top side of the map for Kwangdong Freaks, unfortunately. And Faker having a field day on his newly buffed Azir.
And this is just too much gold on the carries. You know, Faker, he's now got a 3rd item. He has so much extra sustainability or so much extra range and reach to force those fights into his way because he has that Banshee's Veil now. in moments like this, like you miss the engage and then you're just dead. Guma will just turn around with red, white, and all that extra range from the campfire. I mean, look at this. Aphelios just chase him down, mow him down. And then over here, like June, he's a very sad cat. And then now Dudu's like, where's my team? I'm just trying to protect my inner. I just want to exist. Faker says, nah. Sorry, man, not today. And I think this game is all over but the crying at this point. The Hextech Soul is really just adding insult to injury here with the advantages T1 have across the items of the champions alone.
And this is what happens. Like, you just choose not to build Static Shiv, and then instead, you take a Hextech Soul. It's like better. It's a better version of this broken item.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolute
You found the
genius
answer.
here from T1. As Dudu was thinking about flanking, and then the people he was flanking decided to flank him, as Oner is looking to chase him down now. Dudu, where are we going to go? What is the plan here? As Faker's in the bottom lane, just pushing this wave in. He's going to grab an inner turret. See what more he's able to collect here, as Dudu's just going to continue his safari.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really pulling T1 off of any objectives either, unfortunately. This is all for nothing.
Well, he's doing something. It might involve dying here as he misses the Q, and so they're going to keep him at arm's length, and Dudu should eventually go down. Heroic Charge does come forward, and, you know, spinning around, he flashes away and slices and dices. All right, so Dudu might just be all right.
And all the while, Kwangdong Freaks cleared boards in their own.
Yeah, I mean, some respite though, Wolf.
Yeah, sadly.
And look at this.
He's going to get a bounty?
This is genius.
Oh!
Look at this guy. Gets a teleport, continues to slice around.
All right, how much more value is this guy gonna get right now?
I have absolutely no idea, but it may not be very much more.
Banshee's
It's the Banshee's Veil. There we go. That was the amount more value.
Whoa!
Okay,
well, Elder
that was an expensive Safari.
Elder is spawning here. Let's see if Kwangdong can win without the Renekton.
Well, Bomber comes down as Zeri skates away. It's a lot of damage onto Keria, but Taeyun is just going to explode. It's the Poppy that picks up the kill, but I think we all know that Gumayusi did the majority of the work on that one. And now Bulldog, the backup 80 carry, is trying to get some work done, but Zeus is just so huge, and Jun by himself, he ain't gonna do it. Gumayusi's gonna grab the double in the end. Young Jay gonna be the next one to fall, and T1, I have a feeling, just gonna march down this mid lane and finish off this game.
Guma Aphelios, a thing of beauty, a thing to fear. And once again, with Keria's support, these two just rule the day. Faker had plenty of amazing plays this game too. Dealt with the Ezreal quite well in the early game. But man, this was all about that early double kill for Guma and how he pushed that lead every single lane across the map. T1,
oh man,
clean start.
Absolutely. Nexus is going to go down as that was a GA that Dudu had, so he's unfortunately going to die a couple of times. As T1 now going to look for the last few kills here. As the bomber flies in, looks like Taeyun is going to agree to stay on the